There's a version of NCIS that most casual fans forgot existed. Her name is Vera Strickland. She had one arc back in season 11. She helped close out an era of the show, and then she vanished for 12 years. Now she's back, and she's not the only one. Mark Harmon is returning to NCIS Origins for an entire season. Not as a narrator, not as a cameo, as Gibbs on screen in every single episode of Season 3. Today we're breaking down why this matters, what the clues are pointing to, and why CBS might have picked the worst possible year to make it happen. Let's rewind. Season 11, Episode 3. Title, Under the Radar. Ziva David is gone. Cote de Pablo has exited the show. The team is down an agent, and NCIS needed a stopgap before Ellie Bishop showed up to take the role full-time. That stopgap was Vera Strickland, played by Roma Mafia. She wasn't a new agent. She was Mike Frank's old partner, finishing out her final month before retirement. She joined MCRT, helped close a case, and then walked off into television history. One episode. That's it. For over a decade, that's all Vera Strickland was. A trivia answer. Here's the twist nobody saw coming. NCIS launched a prequel series called NCIS Origins, set in the early 1990s, following a young Gibbs at Camp Pendleton. And one of the characters in that world is a young version of Vera Strickland, played by Diane Rodriguez. So the writers took a one-episode footnote from 2013 and turned her into a series regular in a totally different show, set 30 years earlier. That's a strange kind of television resurrection, and it set up something bigger than anyone expected. In November of last year, CBS aired a crossover between NCIS and NCIS Origins. The episode was called Now and Then. The case, a naval officer's death from 1992, reopened decades later after a suspect escaped prison. Two things happened in that episode that fans are still talking about. First, older Vera Strickland showed up again, played once more by Roma Mafia, back on screen for the first time in 12 years. She worked the case alongside McGee, tying the present-day investigation back to the one she handled as a young agent. Second, and this is the bigger one, Mark Harmon appeared as Gibbs. Not as narration, on camera, for the first time since he left NCIS as a series regular back in Season 19. And here's the detail that turned into a real clue for what's coming. During that episode, Vera told McGee something quiet but important. She said she's been in contact with Gibbs. Not was, is, present tense. Gibbs, living alone in a remote cabin in Alaska, apparently still checks in with exactly one person from his old life. And that person is Vera Strickland. That line is doing a lot of work. It's the reason Season 3 makes sense. Here's what CBS has confirmed. NCIS Origin Season 3 brings Mark Harmon back as Gibbs for every episode. Not a guest spot, a full season-long arc. The story centers on a present-day mystery connected to Gibbs' time at Camp Pendleton in the 1990s. Austin Stoll continues playing the younger Gibbs in the flashback timeline, so the show will now be running two parallel Gibbs storylines at once, one in the past, one in the present, both converging on the same case. And Vera Strickland is confirmed to appear in every episode too. Given that she's the only person we know Gibbs is actually still talking to, her presence isn't just fan service. It's structural. She's likely the bridge between the young Camp Pendleton team in the flashbacks and whatever older Gibbs is dealing with right now. Let's talk about what, right now, might actually be. Season 2 of Origins ended with a case tied to a location called Serenity, California, involving a naval officer's unsolved death from 1992. That case bled directly into the NCIS and Origins crossover. Given the timing, it's a reasonable bet that this exact case, or something connected to it, is the present-day mystery driving Season 3. The show has been building toward this for 2 full seasons. This isn't a random late addition. It's a payoff. Mark Harmon played Gibbs for 18 seasons. He was the anchor of NCIS from the very beginning, all the way back to guest appearances on JAG before NCIS even existed as its own show. When he left in Season 19, Gibbs didn't die and didn't get a dramatic send-off fight. He just chose peace. He stayed in Alaska. Case closed quietly. Since then, Harmon has stayed connected to the franchise in smaller ways. He executive produces NCIS Origins alongside his son, Sean Harmon. He narrates every single episode, opening and closing each one in that same voice fans have known for 2 decades. He popped up on screen briefly in the Origins pilot, and again in that crossover episode. But a full season is a different commitment entirely. This is the first time since 2021 that Harmon is playing an active, ongoing role in Gibbs' story, not just bookending episodes with narration. Structurally, that means NCIS Origins is no longer just a 90s period piece. It now has 2 timelines running in parallel, held together by the same character at 2 different points in his life. That's a bigger swing than most prequels attempt, and it says a lot about how confident the writers are in tying these 2 eras together. Here's the part that's going to frustrate a lot of fans. CBS has cut the season order for NCIS Origin Season 3 down to 10 episodes, compared to 18 in previous seasons. Think about that timing. The one season where Harmon is fully back on screen, playing a character he spent nearly 2 decades building, is also the shortest season the show has ever had. Fans waiting years for more screen time with the original Gibbs are getting almost half the episodes they got in prior seasons. There's a reasonable read here. A tighter, 10-episode order for a single connected mystery might actually make for a more focused story than an 18-episode season padded out with filler cases. Limited series structure has worked well for plenty of shows trying to tell one contained story properly. But there's no getting around the fact that less time on screen with Harmon is still less time on screen with Harmon, and that's the part fans are going to feel the most. Quick reality check, because this connects back to a bigger NCIS storyline. Cote de Pablo's Ziva David left MCRT under circumstances that never quite held together narratively. After everything her character went through to escape her father's shadow, walking back to Israel instead of reclaiming her spot on the team was a strange choice on paper. Vera Strickland was brought in specifically to cover that gap after Ziva's exit. Ziva did eventually return for a multi-episode arc years later, undoing an earlier death fake-out, and she remains one of the most requested characters in the franchise's history. But she's never returned as an official MCRT agent. That door has technically stayed open the entire time. So there's a bit of symmetry worth noting here. Ziva's temporary replacement is finally getting her overdue spotlight in a prequel 30 years before any of this happened, while the flagship character she replaced is still floating in franchise limbo, appearing occasionally, but never coming home for good. Oh, here's where things stand. Mark Harmon is back as Gibbs for a full season. Vera Strickland, a character most fans forgot within a year of her debut, is now central to solving whatever mystery is waiting in Alaska. And the show is compressing all of that into 10 episodes instead of 18. Whether that's a smart, tightly written mystery or a frustratingly short victory lap depends entirely on execution, and we won't know until the season actually airs this fall on CBS. If you want more breakdowns like this the moment new NCIS news drops, subscribe and turn on notifications, because this franchise is about to get a lot more complicated in the best possible way. What do you think Gibbs is actually hiding in Alaska? Drop your theory in the comments. I'll read the best ones in the next video.